Hi. This will probably be a short version, as my co-host, Elizabeth, is not feeling too well. And as such, it leaves you with me. And to say that I'm uncomfortable doing this by myself is an understatement. But I have got a virtual co-host who has asked some questions. And I will thank Justin for that. And we will go through them one at a time, and hopefully we'll get there. So forgive me if this all goes pear-shaped. As I say, normally there's two of us doing this, but not today. Right. First question from Justin is, what caused Suzume's recurring dreams of walking through a ruined cityscape? Well, to be perfectly fair and honest, I think you'll find an earthquake and a tsunami will do that to a person, especially if they're young, as Suzume was. All of this, basically, if you've watched the film, revolves around March of 2011 and the very large earthquake and tsunami that followed. And Suzume lost her mother in that tsunami. This is where you first see her. She's wandering around calling for her mother, and she can't find her, which is hardly surprising considering that that particular earthquake took the lives of between 18,000 to 20,000 people on that particular day, as well as causing numerous problems in regards of nuclear fallout from the Fujisawa, I think it is now, something like that, the factory, electric place. I will get it right. So she's got all this going on her, and she's a kid. And as we find out later in the film, her older self is the one that gives her back the chair. And that chair binds her to her mother. So, yeah, I would believe that would scar anyone, young or old. It would scar them. It would certainly scar me. That's for sure. Anyway, this is not going well. I can see this. This is not going well at all. Justin's second question. How does Suzume feel about her recurring dreams, and what do they symbolize? Difficult. Difficult indeed. How would anyone feel having a recurring nightmare? I would not call them a dream, Justin. I would call it a nightmare. To see something like that happen at such a young age, I think she was 4, something like that, 4. And to have it play over in your mind is a bit like PTSD. It's the only way to describe it. PTSD. It's there. Anything can set it off. Anything can bring it back to you. Anything can make you stop, look, and wonder. Is this all that's left for me to do? You know, it's keep going over this in my mind. Losing a parent is a difficult thing to do at any age, let alone being 4 years old and live. And you're in a devastated landscape. There is nothing there, nothing. There are people around, but you don't know where they are. They're strangers. And all you want to do is find your mum, get picked up, get a hug, calm down, and move on. But if your mum's not there, what do? As I said previously, it scars you, and it would scar you for life. Seriously. Right. This is going well, isn't it? It's a car crash happening in slow motion. This is, when I hit the wall, you'll know. Believe you me. Right. Why does Suzume believe the shadowy figure in her dreams is her late mother? Because she wants to believe it's her late mother. She wants to believe that her mum came for her or tried to come for her, as any child would. Even when you get older, not just at 4 years old, at any age, you want your mum to come for you. You want your parents. If you're in trouble, you want them to come for you. Because with those parents, you feel, safe. You feel that there is connection, direct connection between you and the parents. You feel safe. And that's all you want to do is feel safe. So why does she believe the shadow figure is her in a dream is her mum? Because like any kid, that's what you want. You want your mum. Because your mum is your best friend. Your mum is the one that you turn to and say, what do I do next? Where do I go? Who do I trust? Who do I believe? And it's your mum, your mother, who will teach you this, who will direct you in that fashion. I hope that tries and puts it in some semblance of order. God, this is cheerful today, isn't it? I sound like I'm going to a funeral. Mind you, I feel like I'm going to a funeral because this is a slow motion car crash. All right, let's get on to Justin's other questions because he's left me quite a few. So I'm very grateful to Justin. As I said, it's like having a virtual co-host. Right, here we go. His next question. Good for you, Justin. What does the abandoned onsen resort symbolize in the context of the story? What does it context? Well, for me, it symbolizes the end of something. Because as you find out in the story, it kind of says this is the past, and to have that onsen there, those ruins there, you have to think. The thing is, it's a real place, and if you give me a moment, here is the onsen. This is the onsen. As you can see, you have the street going down, and it's there. It's a real place. It's you Yunohara Onsen. It's a real life place. And it's not abandoned. Surprise, surprise. It really is not abandoned. It's really there. You can go visit this place. It does say that this is an Edo-style village with a long 800-year history. So, and you've got hot springs and inns. So it's a real place. And I suppose when it's long history like that, it's the past. And for Suzume at this time, in the film at least, the past means something to her. Oh, hello. Good grief.
Good grief, what?
Hello, darling. How are you?
Do I sound like I'm dying?
No, you don't sound as if you're dying.
Oh, I feel like I'm dying, and I have a lot of medication that I've been taking. So I will try to. I noticed you were on here by yourself, and I'm like, I can't let you do that. I was just going to erase it and postpone it for another day.
Well, I thought I'd give it a go. I've gone through a few of Justin's questions, tried to answer them to the best of my ability.
I love Justin and his questions. They are so wonderful.
Yeah. And I thought, well, you did go to the difficult or the trouble of getting all this put together. So I thought I'm not going to let her down. I'm going to.
Oh no, you make me feel like I'm horrible, but I didn't think um, the viewers would want to see a crying. It feels like woman in labor or muscle spasms to the point I'm holding my breath. Well, you see what a woman in labor looks like. That's what happens when all of my muscles clamp down, and it's not a pretty sight, and it's a regular thing, like every 2 or 3 minutes apart.
Well, I understand that. That's why when you suddenly appeared on screen, I thought, oh, good grief. She's made it. But I have explained that this will probably be a rather short version. So
We'll do our best.
we will, well, yes, we will. We will try our best and hopefully have a reasonably happy program. We may not have the normal to and fro as we normally do, but and it looks like I'm taking the front seat once again.
I can make a comment to that, but I won't.
To be honest, my darling, with you not being here, it doesn't make the program complete. But you're here, and that means a lot to me. I don't know about the viewers, but it means a lot to me.
And when I say I'm going to do something, I try my absolute 100,000th. Try to be where I said I'll be or do what I say I'll do.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, we shall move on to Justin's next question.
Where are we at?
The next question is, how does Suzume feel when she meets the man searching for the abandoned location with doors? Do you want to go first on that one?
No, I'm going to let you because I don't know if it's medicine making me loopy or what, but I'm still trying to figure out the question exactly with what he means.
Okay, that's not a problem. I will put up a little picture. Here we see one of those locations.
Oh, you got pictures. Cool.
Yeah, this is the location. The first location where Suzume, after she's met the man on the hill, Shota, This is where she ends up. This is the
Oh,
doors that Justin is on about. If you've seen the
okay.
film, this, and this on the right of the picture is as it appears in the anime. On the left of the picture is what it appears like in real life. Because in real life, this is an engine shed. It's a real life engine shed. It's
Hmm.
called a roundhouse.
I know
And
what they are. Yeah.
yeah, and this is what was used as the first location. It's not, as they say in the anime, part of the part of the onsen. You might be a little bit embarrassed wandering around there in your birthday suit. That's for sure.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. But how does Suzume feel when she meets the man? Well, she has a connection, some form of connection. You can see it when she goes past, and she slows down and passes him, and then she stops. And it's Shutter that actually says something first. And so Shota says, "Hey, you, do you know of any abandoned ruins?"
Mm-hmm.
And Suzume points up the hill and says, "Well, over there, there's a ruined village or amusement park." As you see on the right hand side of the screen there, that is what Shoto is looking for, that door. And so he goes, and he's obviously looking around the rest of the village. Um, Unfortunately, or fortunately, however which way you'd like to place it, um, Suzume finds the door first and ends up opening the door, which he's not supposed to do. No, you're not supposed to open the damn door. It really is not the ideal thing to do, is open the damn door. I mean, I do have another picture,
Oh,
which
let's see it.
I will show you. Um, and this shows you the roundhouse as it actually appears in real life. And there you go. And as you can
Okay.
see, that is the Bongo Mori Roundhouse. And it
Now,
is,
it seems to me what you were just now describing and what Justin was asking for, and this particular shot doesn't line up to be the same thing. Um, Unless I'm mistaken, didn't he ride past her first on a bicycle? And that's when she thought she recognized him and didn't. And then he, a couple more pedals down, asks her the question, "Are you describing that with this in its place instead of just riding past?"
what I'm describing is Justin said about the, where is it? I've lost the question. Where is it going? There it is. There's the question. She meets the man. Suzume is on the bike.
Right,
She cycles past him,
right.
but she slows down as she approaches him
Hmm.
and then stops. Shota is the one that initiates the conversation by saying, "Hey, you."
Yeah.
The context of the picture is this is where Shota is heading because this is where the door is in the anime. This,
Okay.
the door is what Shota is. Look, when he says, "Is there any ruins around here?" and he asks it, or she asks why, and he says he's looking for a door. This is where the door is. And this is the context of the picture. This is what it actually looks like in real life. No door and very little water.
Okay.
So that's what it actually looks like in real life.
Because to me, when I was watching the movie, um, it really felt there was at least two, if not three, different particular scenes of places or locations that were the exact places or locations that has been done before, has been drawn before.
Yeah, in like Tokyo, the scenes in Tokyo,
Mm-hmm.
some of them have been seen before. So I'm trying to find them now. I did have them lined up. I did actually have them lined up.
See, I come in and confuse everything.
Yeah. I mean, the one that hasn't been seen before, but is very relevant to the film, is this one. Because this is where the Tokyo
Oh, yes.
door is. This
Uh-huh.
is where the Tokyo door is. And as we saw in Your Name, and I think in Weathering with You, we have the trains.
Right.
Because the trains in Tokyo are a big thing. People use trains more than they use buses or taxis. And the only thing that beats a train is you actually walk. But this here is the real life location of the Tokyo gate or door. Just if you ever go visit, do yourself a favor, don't go down there. It's not a good idea. It's really not. Believe you me. So hang on, I've lost the name. Where we are. Oh, here we are. The next question. Oh, do you want to answer that particular question, Liz?
How does Suzume feel when she meets the man searching for abandoned locations with the doors?
Yeah. Do you want?
Intrigued, I think, would be a good word for it. I think she feels some sort of a pull. She's not quite sure where or how, but she does feel like this invisible pull that's pulling them together.
Yeah. Yeah, I can go with that. Right. Here we go. His next question. What significance does the door in the abandoned onsen resort hold for Suzume? Do you want to go first or shall I?
Go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Significance. Personally, I don't think when she first finds that door, there is any significance. There's curiosity. There's a little bit of, I suppose, a little bit of confusion as to why the hell there's a door in the middle of basically a lake, in the middle of nowhere. She duly wanders out. She has no idea what the door or the significance of the door is at that time. She only sees a door, as do we all. It's only after she opens it that I suppose some sort of dawning may or may not appear in her brain. But at that time, I don't think personally she has a significance to that door. What do you think, Liz?
You might be right, but I think now she might be starting to get something of an idea. There not only is a need for her to walk through the door or to open the door and walk through it, but this might not be the only door. She's starting to understand there's something bigger out there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'll go with that. I can go with that one. Yep. Certainly can. Right. Here we go. Next question. Bing bong. Justin, you are a star with these questions, my man.
I
Thank you very
agree.
much. Right, here we go. What happens when Suzume trips over the cat statue at the resort, and how does it affect the plot? Well, what happens when she trips over it? Thinking about my own experience, when I fall over something I'm not expecting to be there, she's probably confused as to what the hell she's just fallen over. So she's wondering, what it is. And so she picks it up, and it's a very cold cat statue. How does it affect the plot? Well, as we find out later on in the film, that cat statue is the keystone. It's what locks this snake, as it's delightfully called, in its position to stop it escaping. There are two keystones. There's one in the east and there's one in the west. The one in the west, I believe, is the cat, and that's the one that gets loose.
Yep.
The significance being that Suzume, in a way, sets it loose. I don't think she intends to set it loose, but she does. And that's what gives us the story. That's what sets us all off. But then again, as we also later find out, it's what's leading them to all the open doors. Your opinion, Liz, on this question?
I was going to say almost the exact same thing that you did. When I don't think she did it intentionally. I think it was done subconsciously, intentionally, if that makes sense. And she knows there's something more that's going to happen, and when she sees the vibrations and the movement at the same time going on with this cat, she starts to, maybe way in the back of her mind, starts to understand maybe there's some inclination between these statues, or that statue anyway, and the possibility of its connection with the earth and what's going on, the earthquakes and other things that are happening.
Yeah, you could be right there. You could be right. I mean, as we find out with Your Name and Weathering with You, there is a big connection to Shinto in this. And I think in lots of ways, this goes a lot deeper than Your Name and Weathering with You into sort of like, I would say, the creation myths that Shinto has. Would you agree with that?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, I mean, basically, where Suzume actually comes from, a bit like the other films, the village itself is a myth. It doesn't exist. Excuse me a moment. I've got a problem. Sorry about that.
No problem.
It's a myth. It all starts on the little island of Kyushu. That's the little island at the bottom of the main island, Honshu. You've got the little island underneath, Kyushu. That's where it all starts. So when you think about it, from Kyushu to Tokyo, the east and west gate, there's not a lot of difference between them. It also, if you think about it, when the film opens, the young Suzume, is wandering around a devastated landscape. And I think the theme park where the door is mirrors that, carries that bit on with it as well. So you already have this idea that between the devastated landscape that you first see her in, the abandoned landscape where you find the door and the cat statue, and things starting to unravel, you can see the thread running through of the Shinto belief of the gods holding the snake down, holding the planet together. It's, I suppose, as you say, Liz, there's the inkling starts to come. There is a light of dawning, but it's slow.
Yeah.
So, Right. Do you want to add anything to that, Liz?
No, not really.
Right. Now we will move on to Justin's next question. This boy was busy on this one. He must have really gone through this film.
I propose, I take a moment and propose that we are no longer the troublesome twosome. We are the troublesome threesome, considering how many wonderful questions he's come up with.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I would say he certainly is part of the team now. Part of the team. Right. The question is, what is the connection between the smoke from the resort and the earthquake that follows? Right. It's not smoke.
Mm-mm.
No, it is not smoke. Suzume thinks it's smoke, and she's the only one that can see it. No one else can see it. It turns out that what she thinks is smoke is actually the snake escaping from the open door. By this time, she has gone to school, and so she has to get out of school rather rapidly and heads back off on her bike up the mountain where she's sent Shota, and finds him finds him literally fighting to close the door. That's when she finds out that this thing isn't smoke, that this is a snake. What is the significance between that and the earthquake? Unfortunately, they don't close the door in time. As we find out, if you don't close the door in time, the snake collapses onto the earth, thus setting off an earthquake. The direct significance of that is you have to close the door.
Also remember in multiple different cultures, the whole thing of connection with the snake to what's happening in the human world of things.
Yeah.
A snake has the head and it has the tail, and it shows the head eating the tail. It has to be a full circle of things. It can't be broke, like when eventually the whole thing falls to earth and does create more issues and more fire and more of the earthquakes like you do see.
Correct. I can go with that. I can definitely go with that. Right. Justin's next question. Why does Suzume feel compelled to help Shota close the door, despite not fully understanding the situation? Well, do you want to take this one first, Liz, or shall I carry on?
I'm going to let you do that, and I'm going to come in with a couple of things at the end if you didn't grab them.
Okay. Right. Why does she feel compelled to help Shota close the door? Probably because she's the one that left it open. And so she's got a little bit of guilt complex, thinking, oh, I left the door open. Also, being that she...
If I can interrupt you there real quick, not meaning to interrupt you, but you did cover the fact that at the beginning, she was the one who left the door open, correct? So audiences aren't bewildered at this moment.
She's the one that left it open in the first place when she first finds it. So She's got a little bit of guilt complex there that, oh, I left the door open. It takes her a little while to realize that this, whatever it is coming through the door. And then she twigs, especially after Shota is injured with the falling metal from the roof. She realizes the door has to be closed. Does she not fully understand the situation? No, probably not. I don't think if I appeared on that scene and saw somebody fighting with a door and something which I do not know is coming out the damn door, would I understand it? No, I wouldn't. Would I be compelled to go and help close the door? Probably not. I would probably think, don't know what's going on. I'm heading in the opposite direction. So in that respect, Suzume is a little bit more braver than me. What say you, Liz?
I think that she does feel compelled because it is still part of her story that we see later in the end. Why she's so compelled is it was because of the mother's death and everything that went through to it, and why she's now feeling this compulsion to go towards the doors. I think that's more of an inner meaning as to why at that moment when he sees her that she's fighting to close the door. And Sutsa already feels some sort of drawing toward her, and I think that's why he just immediately goes with her, even though he doesn't really understand the whole situation yet. He understands her, or at least he's beginning to understand her.
True. Right. Next question. Here we go. This carries on basically from that last question. Why does Shota's explanation of being a closer, or what does it reveal about his role in the story? I'll let you go first on this one, Liz.
His role, or the role of being a closer, is you have to always make sure that things that are not supposed to be out in the world stay close and compacted behind closed doors, because if they should get out into the world, disasters can happen. And like I heard you reference before I was getting online, you went back and you referenced March 11 for the tsunami and then the earthquake that followed. You don't want to have any of the doors even cracked or something like that that's bad can come through.
Yeah, true. I also think Shota's explanation about being a closure, it reveals his connection in some way to, at that time we don't know the full connection, or we know as the story progresses he explains that this is in his family and they've been doing it for centuries. I suppose in a way it allows Shota to move from being a supporting character into being one of the main characters, the male main character.
Male protagonist, yeah.
Yeah, which, if you think about it, this particular director does love his male-female lead characters. He does like having the two. He never sticks with just one. You think of Your Name, two characters. Weathering with You, you have the two characters. 5 centimeters per second, you have the two characters. Garden of Words, again, you have the two characters. So he does like having male and female main characters. He really seems to center on that. And Suzume on her own, I don't think would fully comprehend. So Shota is, by revealing he's a closer, it helps Suzume to suddenly realize and work out what the problem is and what she has to do. And I also think, in a lot of ways, without her realizing it, she's a closer too. She just hasn't ever learned that fact. Would you agree with that, Liz, or not?
Yeah, no, I actually would agree with that. And that
You
makes
would.
sense. So, yeah, and actually, that part of it itself, I think, was even mentioned for a little bit in the book toward the end, or the book, toward the movie toward the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's actually commenting, and I forget who she's speaking to, but she's learned and she already knows that she's a closer. She just has to get there at some point. It's her job to also become a closer to help him succeed in what he's doing as well.
Yeah. I think the bit you're referencing might be the fact when she goes to see Shota's, I think it's his grandfather or his father.
It's his grandfather.
The grandfather. Yeah, I think that's what you're referencing.
Are we talking about the old man in the bed?
Yeah, in the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah, it was his grandfather.
Yeah. So, yeah. Right. Next question from our Justin. He's definitely getting a gold star on this one, I'm telling you.
Mhm.
Here we go. What is the cat's true nature and why is it so important to the plot? Well, here we go. What is the cat's true nature? Who
To
can
be
say what?
obnoxious. No.
Beg your pardon?
Be a cat. Be obnoxious. But no, that's not really the answer.
Yeah. What is a cat's true nature? It I would say the cat's true nature is part guide and part pain in the butt.
Oh, okay.
To put it in broad context, as said earlier, it guides them to where the doors are open, but at the time they don't realize it. So they are looking at the cat as being the main, Shota has worked out that the cat is the keystone. So they have to get the keystone back to being where it's meant to be. The cat is also the reason that Shota ends up in the predicament that he's in, which is a three-legged chair.
Mm-hmm.
Which is most surprising. And how do you actually explain to the world why you've got a three-legged chair running down the road after a white cat?
And then how do you explain to the world that you're sitting in a three-legged chair with that matter of leg conformity? I can see it being a three-legged chair. That's not the problem. It's where, the supports are placed.
It's when that three-legged chair talks, or when the cat talks.
Okay, that too.
Yeah, that tends to be the whole thing in
Somebody
perspective.
spiked his tea with something.
Yeah. I mean, even then, the cat, and you see this little flashbacks around at the time. You're getting the general drift that, unlike the other two, Your Name and Weathering with You, Suzume does directly link itself to March the 3rd, 2011, the big earthquake and the big tsunami.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. As the film progresses, you find more and more references to that entire incident. But What do you think the cat's true nature is, and why is it important to the plot, Liz?
One, like I said, as a cat now, I don't necessarily think it's always a cat. I think sometimes it's in another form, where we can't see it, but for the humans to be able to see it, it's in a cat form, but I think its nature is all its own, which happens to be similar to a cat. He's just a mysterious person. But
Mm.
there's also that, okay, this is how I'm doing it. This is how I'm getting your attention. I can act like I'm jealous. I can act, like I'm playful or sleepy. But in the meantime, I'm still getting you to do what I want you or what I need you to do. These are my ways of showing you things and to get you to follow them.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, true. Anyway, the next question follows on from that one. He's good as our Justin. He's good. Are you
Yes.
ready for this?
Yep.
Here we go. How does the cat's transformation into a real cat connect to the supernatural events occurring in the story? I'll let you take this one first, Liz.
Um, it's kind of funny you pulled that one up next because that kind of ties in with what I was just speaking about. Um,
Correct.
the, um, how does the cat's transformation into a real cat? Well, like I said, he's a real cat, yes, with his knobbiness, um, and different things. Is getting himself to be obnoxious enough where people are going to pay attention to him, and his master owner, whatever, so to speak, is now becoming more aware of, okay, you're trying to get me, come over here. Why are you trying to, get me to talk to this other black cat? Why are you jealous?
Mm,
And he's starting to see there are things the cat wants him to see to correct certain issues or incidences that will maybe not cause him harm. If there's like another earthquake coming, it could save them from harm. There's a bunch of other just little things that you see throughout the show that just it just prepares you for it, or it's guiding you to something. Whereas
mm.
in the end, it guides you to the point of and her acknowledgement of, okay, you've got to keep this door shut.
Yeah,
Because even when she later on fell through, he immediately jumped in right after her
yeah.
and then wound up fighting them off.
I think I think the transformation into a real cat is because, in a way, um, he wants to be loved by Suzume. The cat, for some reason, although it's a supposedly it's a god, it's a keystone. Um, it says, you love me. I love Suzume.
Yeah.
That's when he turns to Shota and he looks at Shota and says, "You're in the way."
Uh,
Poof! Shota becomes a three-legged chair. The poor guy doesn't even know about it till it's too late. Um, when he's in the bar in Kobe, um, we see him as a cat. Um, Suzume sees him as a cat, but the other customers don't appear to see him as a cat. Which always, when I see that scene, somewhat confuses me. Is if we see him as the cat, Suzume sees him as a cat. What do they see him as?
I think she probably see him as a cat.
Yeah, but why would a cat be in a karaoke bar buying drinks?
That's the part that's confusing is they're catching on to him buying the drinks. Yes, I think a cat can be in a bar. I've seen them many times. Um, and a cat can still be just as mischievous inside the bar as on outside. In fact, he might get more treats on the inside.
Hmm.
So I think
I,
they all see him as a cat.
yeah, I always thought they might, although we see him as the cat and Suzume sees him as the cat, I think he projects another image
Oh,
that we
really?
don't see, which is why everybody around him treats him as a person, because that's what they see.
Oh,
That's what they expect to see.
I never thought
Um,
of that.
yeah, that's what I believe. His connection to the supernatural events is he is the keystone, or he was
Was the
the
keystone?
keystone. Um, so he is directly connected to holding the snake down. That is what his job was. So he knows about the snake. He knows about the doors. He knows about the events, which is why, in a roundabout way, is the cat the goodie or the baddie? Yeah, it was a bit like the witches in Spirited Away. They're a bit of both.
Okay.
And the cat, I think, is like that. It's a bit of both. When it first starts off and it goes against Shota, I think that's the cat showing its bad side. But as the film carries on, and as both Shota and Suzume follow and chase the cat and try and catch the cat, I think the cat itself realizes and says, well, these people are not quite what I thought they were. It's a journey of learning on all sides. Suzume has to learn what she is. Shota has to learn what his new role in life is. And I think the cat slowly becomes, a different sort of cat. It becomes more cat-like as the film goes on. Yep.
I can see that. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, I think you're probably right.
That's how I. But then again, I've got a weird way of looking at things.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Right. Here we go. Next question. How does Suzume's ability to see the worm and the ever after reflect her personal connection to the supernatural events? Well, as we saw at the beginning of the film, she was in the ever after. That is where you see the young Suzume. When you first see her, she is in the ever after. So therefore, she has crossed that Rubicon of where live humans are not supposed to be. The individual that hands her the chair, we don't know at that time, is her older self. So therefore, how does she have this ability to see the worm? Because she's been in the ever after.
Yeah, she's already done it.
She's been there. So although she doesn't realize it, and although she doesn't actually know it at the time, she can see the worm because she's been there. She's seen it before. So she knows it's real. It's real to her. And the ever after, that is her personal connection to all the events that are following on. When she meets Shota, meets the cat, sees the worm, all of this, it's all connected to the very first time she crossed over into the ever after. And later on in the film, it gives you the date when that happened. And the date is the 3rd of March, 2011.
Yeah.
That is the date of the big earthquake tsunami. That's when she lost her mother. That's when she had to go looking for her mother and looked for the chair. She went through a door. At that time, it was stood up in some rubble, but she opened the door. I think the grandfather is the one that says you've crossed over into the ever after. Before you have to find that door. That's why she has to go back to the area around Fukusawa and Fukuyama and the you know the devastated part of
Right.
Japan where the tsunami hit to find the door. That's the connection. That is her personal connection to the events. This is where the story starts to draw in. And for me, it blurs the line between factory and fiction. It draws them together in a good way, as far as I'm concerned. Well, what do you feel?
No, I agree with you. Um, and it was kind of put to it at the end when she's standing there, and I believe she's standing. I want to say her people are fishermen because she seems very at home dockside, and she's around boats, and I think that may have even been her grandfather's boat that she's standing next to. Do you remember
Um,
that?
oh, what the boat on the roof? You mean?
Uh huh.
Um, as far as the film's concerned, possible. As far as the actual event is concerned, that particular image of 2011 is quite a well-known image.
True, but I thought that's how he wrote it in or wove in that story.
Yeah, he probably put it in the story too, because for that to happen would mean for me that Suzume and her mother were by the coast when the tsunami hit. I mean, we all know that the tsunami came inland quite a distance, but for
Yeah.
the devastation that you see and that boat to be on the roof of the house, they would have to have been within a couple of miles of the coast. Because I remember rightly, that tsunami came in about 10 miles inland.
Something like that, yeah.
Um, and it wasn't so much the tsunami hitting that did the damage as it went out. It just
Pulled it out. Yeah.
sucked everything along with it. Um, as I said, I mean, that was something like 18 to 20,000 people
Yeah.
gone.
Well, I just remember a line from inside of the movie, and I believe it was the grandfather at that point, and he said, "Hello, my old friend," during that scene. So that's why I was thinking it was his boat that was on top of the house.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I see where you're coming from on that one. I think the grandfather at that time, when he says uh, about the old friend, he's talking about the larger black cat, which is the other keystone.
Oh, okay.
I
It might
think
have
that's
been.
yeah. That I think that's what the grandfather is referring to at that point, because he says, "I will leave it in your hands."
But then, if that's the case, then the grandfather had to have some experience with these keystones at one point in his life as well.
Well, yeah, he's the one that's been teaching Shota how to be a closer. Um, and I also think that the grandfather, like Suzume, um, has actually found his door, as he tells Suzume. He found his door. He crossed over to the ever after as well. That's why he can tell her how to go there. Shota can't, but the grandfather can. So, I think that's maybe I'm reading too much into it.
No,
I mean, I really do enjoy the film.
that's the fun thing about watching movies with multiple layers. It helps
Yeah,
you get into them on many, many different levels and why.
exactly. I would like to thank Robert S. Burns for his like. Thank you, Robert. Very nice of you.
Thank you,
Much
Robert.
obliged. Hey?
I was saying thank you.
Oh, yeah. So, right. we're off again. Oh, Justin is really digging us in there now. He's really digging deep. Right, here we go. How does Suzume's reaction to Sota being transformed into a chair reflect her emotional growth? I'll let you go first on this one.
I can't even describe the word that I'm thinking she could be feeling, because it would be a little bit of horror, I'm assuming, why all of a sudden, this person is now turned into a chair. What's happening? Am I losing my mind? A tad bit comical, and just it's a combustion of multiple different reactions, I think, could be in there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how would you feel if all of a sudden you're sitting there next to me and we're talking and I turn into a chair?
Well, first of all, unlike Suzume, I don't think I would be just sitting or standing looking at you and not, and you talk to me. I would just stand there. I think I would be making rapid movement towards the nearest door. For a start, I mean, my reaction would be to get the hell out of there, because point one, a person that I've just been talking to has disappeared. I can hear the voice, but I can't see them. And then there's this chair. I know the chair. I've had the chair all my life, but now this chair is talking and moving. Whoa. I mean, having seen things like Poltergeist and what have you, the Amityville Horror, one tends to think about these things and think, no, I'm not staying around.
Yeah.
It's the old adage of, you hear something down in the basement, you open the door to the basement, try to switch the light on, there's no light on. Normal people would think, sod that for a game of soldiers, close the door, lock the door, walk away. No, in the film, they open the door, light doesn't work, we'll go down into the dark, and you get halfway down, axe in the head.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
afraid.
like it's like
Exactly.
everybody runs, you're getting scared. Everybody runs like into the basement or,
Exactly.
up into the
Yeah.
attic. I've never
Yeah.
understood that.
Whereas, Whereas, yours truly, it's the opposite way. Light doesn't work. Close the door, lock the door, head for the way out. Don't go
Most
upstairs.
definitely.
Don't go downstairs. Head into the great big wide world where you can see something coming, and you can run away if possible. That's how I would look at it. I mean, how does Suzume, her reaction? I mean, good for her.
Yeah.
I when that happened, her reaction was, for me, somewhat confusing. I thought, no, most normal people wouldn't have done that, especially a
It's just
child,
normal.
especially a girl of that age. I think would have been a slightly different reaction.
Okay, you just said something there. You said any other normal girl, and I said, who said she was normal? She's
Yeah.
sitting there talking to cats in a three-legged chair.
Oh, yeah, she does that later on in the film. I'll give you that, yeah. But then again, as a child, she was talking to the chair when her mum made it. She's the reason why that chair has the two little eyes in its back, because she says to her mother, that's its face.
Yeah.
So she's been talking to the damn chair since the day now it was created.
I thought you were going to say born there for a minute.
No. The chair was never born. It was created. Um, it was born when Shoto was transformed into it, whatever that was. But no, when the actual chair was first came into being, it was created by Suzume's mother. But there we go. Right, here we go. Next question. How do the abandoned locations serve as a metaphor for Suzume's search for closure and understanding? Do they, though?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not so sure that they do serve as any
Yeah.
metaphors.
Do they? Are they a metaphor for Suzume's search for closure? I think a lot of the abandoned locations actually serve to aid her for closure. They don't. I don't think they serve as a metaphor for her search for closure. They help her to gain closure because they help her to understand her problem that she
Mm-hmm.
has. And that problem stems from the fact that as a 4-year-old child, she lost her mother. As I said at the beginning, any child of any age, and I don't care what gender they are, male or female, you love your mum, you trust your mum, and you want your mum to be around. So I think those locations helped her to finally put the pieces together. Again, maybe I'm looking at it slightly differently.
No, I don't think you are.
So it to me that's how I see it. But you know, those locations are quite.
There's special places between her and her mother. They're not something that is she's being led to, or what was the metaphor for it? Because there was no metaphor. These were just pieces in
Yeah.
her memory she remembers from a kid, and her and her mother having really good times together.
True. Yeah, I can see that. Well, this next question he's giving us follows directly onto that, and I'll,
Uh-oh.
I'll let you go first on this one. Um, how does the transformation of Shuto into the chair and later into a keystone mirror the themes of sacrifice and duty?
Okay. How does it transform, or how are? See, this is a little confusing regarding the sentence. I'm not quite sure what he wants. How does it transfer, or how
Yeah,
are they transferred?
yeah.
Because at the bottom,
How does the transformation of Shuta into a chair and later into a keystone mirror the themes of sacrifice and duty? Um,
oh, okay, I was reading it wrong, or so I was reading it without the proper punctuation, so it was confusing to me.
yeah.
Um, how did this is a difficult one for me. Um, I guess it would be that he is allowing her to see um, all everything that they need to do and to sacrifice themselves. But I'd say more the sacrifice and duty would come later when he willingly, not so much the chair, but when Suda willingly sacrifices himself um, as the chair. I'm not as the chair, but as himself, and then as the other cat. Um, so I think that's more of a sacrifice of what she sees versus that.
Hmm, yeah. I mean, for me, the transformation of Suter into a chair, um, and he just keeps going. Um, that to me doesn't. I wouldn't say that mirrors the theme of sacrifice or duty,
Yeah.
uh, as per se. When he turns into the keystone, um, I think again, um, does that mirror sacrifice? I think the slow realization that, Dojin has passed the duty of being a keystone to him. He has to accept that. So that part, I would say, yes, you've got a bit of duty there. But I don't think he goes willingly. So he's not too happy at being a keystone. It's just a very slow realization. As you see in one of the sequences, he sinks down, and he's thinking to himself, I'm going deeper every day. The voices are getting weaker every day, and it's getting harder to come back. He doesn't willingly sacrifice himself to be a keystone. It's a slow realization, but he does accept it as a form of duty because he's a closer. So he knows what the score is, for me.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best description that I can come up with too, is what you said, kind of along mirroring onto mine.
Yeah, I would do that. I would say that. Right. Here we go. He's doing well, is our Justin. Doing well here. Here we go. What role does the interaction between Suzume and Daijin play in Suzume's understanding of her own journey? Well, for me, I would say, as far as Suzume and Daijin is concerned, at the beginning of the journey, she doesn't understand a damn thing. She's working on instinct. She is working on trying to put things right. It's only later on, near the end of the film, where there is a certain understanding, which comes after, I think, Sota is the keystone. And she goes to see the grandfather, and he tells her to find that door to go to the ever after. I mean, that's when there's the understanding of the journey, because I think it's on the journey the auntie says about you're going to see someone that you love, and she gets all defensive. I think that's when Suzume does finally have a bit of understanding, fully understands the journey of what she's been on. Difficult to say. I mean, for me, what I took away from it, from that particular journey, was for somebody to live, for somebody to move forward, you've got to return to yourself, the real you. And I think this is the journey, is what Suzume goes on, and she has to go round the houses to live, to move forward, to come back to herself. Yes or no?
Yeah, I would think that in a way, but the understanding of her own journey, I think there was already interaction to the understanding of her own journey before then. I think it just came to a full solidification at that point.
Yeah, possible. Oh, I've just noticed something at the bottom of all these questions. Yeah. He was sorry to hear that you weren't feeling too well.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah. And then he said, I sound great.
Well,
I'll be honest. Yeah, I'll be honest, Justin. I didn't feel great. No way. And then he goes on and says, Liz, you too.
Thank you. I don't think I sound all that great today or completely with it, but we're doing our best today.
Yeah, yeah. We are doing our best, and I am very grateful to you, Justin, for being there with us. You are very loyal. And as I said, you are my virtual co host today, even though I've got my real co host back.
I
But
think you'd rather have the virtual co-host.
no, 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 no. I'm quite happy having the two. I know which one I prefer, but that's my own personal opinion, and I will keep that to myself. But no, I'm glad I've got the two, and I'm not here on my own. That's all I can say. I was not looking forward to being on my own. I don't think I would have lasted this long had I been on my own. I would have gone by now. I would probably have lasted about an hour and gone, if that. Anyway, off to the questions.
Yep.
Off to the questions. Where are we? Here we go. How does the theme of memory and the past manifest in Suzume's experience with the ever after?
What is the theme of memory in the past?
Well, how does the theme of memory in the past manifest in Suzume's experience? I think for me, the memories of the past help Suzume clarify her own existence in many ways. You see her as the 4-year-old, lost, frightened, alone, and then the auntie turns up after she's had a visitation from her future self. When she goes back on that same journey, she's not that frightened 4-year-old. She's still frightened, but as things progress, she slowly but surely gains momentum, gains understanding, and therefore grows as a person. And that's what I take away from it, that the experience of being in the ever after, being on the journey, seeing Shota, dealing with Dojin, with the auntie, with Shota's really weird friend. It all helps her grow as a person, as a character.
I think not only does it help her grow as a character and a person, but it helps her grow in the understanding of things that have taken place around her and the reasons, not necessarily exactly why it happened, but in a way as to why certain things happened to her.
Yeah. Justin's put this up for you.
Oh, thank you, Justin. That's sweet.
And obviously, a comment that we made earlier, he's reacted to it. Not me, not Miyazaki himself. I'm trying to work out what statement we made. But there we go. So there we go. Right. Then next question, and it's his last question. So here we go. How does the music in the film enhance the emotional themes and the journey of Suzume? How does the anime style contribute to the portrayal of the supernatural elements and the ever after? Justin, you're cheating. That's 2 questions in one there. I'll have to take away your gold star for that. You're only getting a silver one. He'll never talk to me now for the rest of the year. Um, right. Let's deal with the first part of the question. How does the music in the film enhance the emotional themes and journey of Suzume? What do you think, Liz?
I think, like any good musical adaptation that runs through a movie, it either will, even though you're not necessarily aware of it, it will like spike your attention to detail to what's coming on, will give you cues to it. It'll give you cues to possibly something sad is coming. It just kind of builds. Um, and so a lot of that I think helps portray certain things in the scenes. And if it's a supernatural element, I was listening to, it changes its themes when it was doing supernatural stuff. Was, I wouldn't say completely lighthearted, the music, but it was more upbeat. It's like, okay, something's going to happen, something's going to happen. But then when
Mhm.
we got to certain scenes like them driving down the road, with the convertible top down. It was a happy, go lightly, type of music. And I have to interrupt myself there by saying one particular thing. I absolutely died laughing when the rainstorm started and he tried to put up the convertible. The convertible only went up enough to cover Suzume. So she's completely fine.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when there's this gigantic earthquake and everything, and the car is sliding and sliding and sliding, and finally it comes to the stop and it comes down in a bump, and the convertible switch or whatever switched on again, and the whole thing switched on and settled over completely perfectly, sealing it back so it wasn't a convertible any longer.
Oh, yeah. That's when he turns around and says, "Oh, fixed again."
Hmm.
But then the door falls off.
Oh, I know that was so. Did you see the end where they
Oh, yeah. They duct
put it
taped
on
the
with the
damn thing
tape?
on the door, didn't they?
Yes.
Duct taped the whole damn thing back on the car. Really? As if the Japanese police is going to let that go on the road and trundle up the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you say, yeah, the music. You see, this is another thing that Miyazaki's done. He worked with the Radwimps again on this film. Um, the actual theme tune, although written by the Radwimps, is not sung by the Radwimps. It's sung by another young lady. I can't remember her name. I did have it. I did have it lined up, but I seem to have lost it for some strange reason. Um,
I do know there was more than just a female singing artist too.
yeah, exactly. Let me have a look, see if I can find it. Come on. Right. Doesn't tell me. It doesn't tell me.
Oh, isn't that maddening?
It does. It is extremely maddening. It's extremely maddening. I do. It does bug me when this happens.
Because I've been so ill the last few days, I didn't even think to go in and get all the musical stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. The music is by the Radwimps.
Right.
Um, it's actually Suzume no Tozumari or Suzume's Looking Up, whatever that actually being, is a 2022 animated coming of age fantasy film. And she's actually 17 years old, Suzume, which I didn't realise. I
Yes.
thought she was younger than that.
Nope. That's one of the things also I liked about this three movies is they were older than most of the Ghibli movies,
Yeah,
but they weren't like 30, 40-year old, 30 somethings. I don't know if you, there was a TV show many years ago, a sitcom called 30 something. And I was expecting it to be more kind of like that, but it wasn't. It was a little bit younger than that, but it wasn't childish and it wasn't teenage angst either.
No, no, true. Um, Shinkai actually turns around and says, though he took us round the country, the film inevitably turned into a road movie about visiting places. So he actually admits that the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami served as an influence for the themes of the film, while it was the Taimak comet in Your Name and the concept of weathering with you was influenced by natural disasters. So
That I think you can tell is
still
very
trying to
present.
find, here we go. The Rad Wimps, weathering with you. TikTok singer Toaka provided the vocals for the first theme song, which is Suzume, and the second theme song, which is Kanata Hananuka, deputy, was recorded at the Abbey Road Studios in London. So she does both of those songs.
Wow.
So there you go. It was released on November the 7th, 2022. Looks like it's done rather well. As of what this particular thing is saying, it has grossed over $318 million worldwide.
That's a very good number.
Yeah, and that includes 14.94 billion yen in Japan alone. And it is the fourth highest grossing anime film of all time.
And you want to know what's the other three?
Oh, go on then. I think I know, but
Oh, let's see if you know.
well, I would say Spirited Away is up there somewhere, and Totoro's up there somewhere. But the other one is probably Porco Rosso or something.
No, we've actually done two of them.
We have
Yes, we have.
Spirited Away, Your Name,
Uh-huh.
Weathering with You.
Yes,
That's the top three, is it?
that's the top three.
Oh, and now we've done number 4.
Yep.
Cool. Well, it's won 4 awards. It won the Brussels International Fantastic Film Festival in 2023. It won the Celebration of Cinema and Television in December 2023. It also won at the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. It won the Best Film. It was nominated for the Best Song, but it didn't quite pick it up. It also picked up the Japanese Academy Film Prize, Outstanding Achievement in Music. So there you go.
I just think it's amazing how the normal Joe Blow, when you talk to them, like my brother-in-law, this drives me crazy, he absolutely loves all different types of movies, and for the most part, he likes the music. And you'll go and say, oh, you want to go watch this movie. It's great. It's got, humor. It's got, intrigue. It's got all these different things. And the second he finds out it's anime, he's like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I hate it. People have that mindset of anime from anywhere. It could be French anime, although I've never watched it, but it could be French anime.
I think a lot of people find as soon as you mention the word anime or animation, their mind goes to things like Disney,
Uh-huh.
or Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny.
Now you see, you
That's
just
their
mentioned,
mindset.
you just said exactly that. Is even today he loves, absolutely loves watching the old Tarzan that was done in cartoon, lack of a better word, form, and that was
Oh
a
yeah, I remember that.
there was
Yeah.
actually two of them. There's one from Disney, and then there was one that was not Disney, that was a much higher AI version of it, which was actually quite
Mm.
good. Um, or he will watch like Mulan. That's like his one of his top favorite movies, and he
Yeah.
likes the music. So
Mm.
why can't he get out of his head? Japanese anime is no different than these. You like these things. Why can't you adjust your mind? And I've never understood why.
I think a lot of people, as I said, they cannot separate between Disney or Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and Elmer Fudd,
Yeah.
you know, Porky Pig. They can't separate. And as soon as you say animation or anime, that's what they think. That's what they go to. That is their go-to button, which is a shame. As we've shown uh, in the films that we've tried to, well, we've reviewed and tried to promote. Um, the stories of these films, the animation, as Justin has asked here, how does the animation style contribute to the portrayal of the supernatural elements and the ever after? I mean, as you've watched the film, you can see the style when they portray the ever after. They do it with, as far as I'm concerned, the style makes you wonder. You have that sense of wonder of just how big is the ever after? What else is in there? How do the people that are in the ever after, how do they deal with it all? It gives you that sense of wonder. The music, as you say, adds to it and takes you there with it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, but unfortunately, you will never, you will never stop people thinking that Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, or even for that matter, Wally, Shrek.
Oh, I know.
You know, that's
And
what.
don't get me
Oh, yeah.
wrong, I love Wally. I love
Oh yeah.
Shrek, but
Oh yeah.
it's not. You know.
Yeah. It's like How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, I absolutely adore that series, How to Train Your Dragon.
Well,
Not too
beware.
happy
There's a
with
fourth one coming out.
what, Shrek.
No, How to Train Your Dragon.
Really, I know there was all the films, and they did Nine Realms, which was an absolute flop.
Oh, tell me about it. No, there's an actual fourth movie.
Oh, that should be an
Uh,
interesting
yeah.
proposition, then. But I mean, when you think of the film, this film particularly, um, it's only when you, as I say, you look at the how the film's done, and then you see things like this. I mean, that is the actual station
Mhm.
in real life, and you see Suzume standing in front of that station. That's the station she stands in front of. It's just unbelievable that these things are real.
Yeah.
It is there, and you can visit, and they work so hard on getting stuff right. Um, there is a picture I do have actually that I wanted to show, and it's the ferry port. There is the ferry port that she comes in at, and it is a
Hmm.
real ferry port. It's the Yawatawahama port. when you see her getting off the ferry, this is where she gets off. And then she goes to the train station. There's the town for the train station. There's the Ferris wheel. That's the Ferris wheel that they use. And I believe one of these is the gate that she has to close. So, you know, there's Rocco Island. This is down the coast of Okayama. This is when she's obviously heading up to Kobe. These are all places that you see in the film. The bridge. That's the road trip when they're going back down.
Uh-huh.
You see, there's the castle that you see from the train. It's a real castle. You can go and visit it. There's part of the train line with the river running through it that they stand on. You know, it's all there.
I'm wondering about that train, that shot you've got of the train.
Which one?
That shot right there that you have.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if that is not the train area that's in the Wolf Children.
It possibly could be.
It looks like a particular scene in that.
Yeah.
So put a star on that with notes off to the side. Once we review that, we'll have to check.
Yeah. The name of this place actually transfers as tea water and was named because the water from the nearby Kanada River was used to make the Shogun's tea. The area is an interesting place to visit, and there are plenty of things to do, restaurants to visit as well. And it's a popular place to geek out, as Akihabara is only a short walk away. So there you go, Akihabara. Yes.
It's the tea water that gets me, sorry.
Yeah, an otaku's dream world. It really is. An otaku's dream world. Well, I'm very grateful to Justin for his questions. They rescued me no end. So did my co-host, Liz, rescue me no end. I'm so glad that she decided to join us. I really am. Very grateful. I don't feel quite such an idiot now.
Oh, you would have done just fine.
Oh, I don't know about that, sweetheart. I really don't. I was struggling at the beginning. I was really struggling at the beginning.
Oh, thank God there is a mute button and a not here button, because you would have heard me panting and screaming quite a few times, and definitely would not like to have seen my expressions.
Well, you heard what Justin said, or you saw what Justin said.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're here as well. And I will ask one more thing of you now, since we've been going over an hour and a half, which is quite a surprise for me. I didn't think I would go this long, but I've managed to go for over an hour and a half. I would ask you to close the program down and say goodbye to all our wonderful viewers.
Alrighty. I know at least out here throughout the United States, you've got weather being super cold and snowy to 70 degrees and very sunny. But no matter where you are, drive safely, go to whatever picnics, parties, or church events you're going to, and be aware, and also drive safely. And we definitely hope to see you in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'm hoping you're feeling better by then as well.
Me too. Talk to you all next week.
Okay. Adios.
Adios.